Not headphones anymore, Wits?
Again?
And you probably noticed, obviously, Eddie Howe's the gaffer, King Edward, or Sir Edward, you two are allowed to call him.
More in my career, managers in general probably weren't someone you'd have conversations about family life, where you've been on holiday. Joe was really good at when the lads needed something or wanted something, he would say, let me speak to Kenny.
I used to love them coaches that come and give you a little cuddle when it's not gone right. I'll fair play to him. And those coaches that come and give you a little cuddle, stab you in the back.
Yeah.
Obviously, in terms of a coach like tactics, clueless. I don't know. I wouldn't say I've had many good assistant managers.
He was brilliant. He's like, has anyone else here worked with Michael Owen recently? No? Okay, lads. Get yourself out then.
Ring my agent. Have you had a call yet?
Yeah.
Hey, mate.
He's gone for it.
Yeah.
He's gone for it.
Ringing your agent. Leave your phone on, mate. You're getting a call tonight.
He starts going, oh, you know everything, do you? I was like, but I know what you're doing. What you're doing is you're trying to prove a point because the physio's overruled you and your little ego has kicked in.
Old school. Right, welcome everybody to In the Stiffs. We've got the Rodecaster Pro back out.
Do we not need headphones?
Not headphones anymore, Wits?
Again? No, we're all right, aren't we? The acoustics in here are incredible, aren't they? The studio, the In the Stiffs.
The studio is good.
Headquarters.
Right, let's start.
Right, anyway, we're going to talk a little bit today about coaches and assistants. Now, that's come about because I've been watching quite a few Newcastle games, and you've probably noticed, obviously, Eddie Howe's the gaffer, King Edward, or Sir Edward, as you two are allowed to call him. But Jason Tindall gets a lot of press, and there's some good funny things knocking about with Jason Tindall at the moment, talking about how he's really good at standing next to somebody, and there's obviously a little bit of humour, and he brings it on himself a little bit, Jason, doesn't he? Because we're in, it's been the winter months, and he's got a wonderful tan. He looks like he's been to Turkey, had his teeth done. He's all round tan. But I thought, obviously, Eddie must trust him in some way, so I just thought it'd be quite interesting to hear your experience of coaches and assistant managers, because traditionally that's a sort of go-between between the manager and the players. So I was just wondering your experience of that and the sort of role these assistant managers and coaches played in your career. Was it supportive or how it was? So, Gav, talk about the role of your assistant manager in your current job.
Jay. So Jamie Haynes is obviously my assistant. And it's quite seamless with us, really, because what we like to think is that as Jay sort of come to work with me in football, he sort of adopted my ways, but he's also able to challenge me, which wasn't an easy thing to do in the early days because no one really wanted, especially with Crossbar. When I first started Crossbar, obviously you're very tunnel vision and it's hard, like you've got a bit of an ego and people challenge you and in your workplace and you're like, well, no, actually I know what I'm doing and you've got a
bit of an ego.
Glass houses, Sam. Glass houses. But obviously as you get older, you realise that for growth, you need to delegate. I think that's important. You need to trust, which was probably an issue for me. And then they can then sort of have the same ideals and philosophies as you, but then they're able to challenge you because in that, like we've got very similar likes and interests, but across that we will have obviously discussions on what we think, of course. So it's very seamless because Jay obviously is a director with me at Crossbar. Football, I like to think that I've been able to sort of introduce him to sort of my way of thinking of what I've learned from managers and coaches and assistants over the years. And then he's able to challenge me. And it's good now because we're in a little bit of a place where he feels comfortable challenging me. He's not precious because, I'm very much like, we've got a job to do. So when I'm tunnel vision, it could be like he's challenging me and I'm already where I need to be. So I can just sort of, all right, just like, that's probably in the nicest way I've ever done it. He's not precious at all. Yeah. So I can just say to him, Jay, shut the up, I'm on it. And he's just...
That's really important that you have an assistant manager who's going to question you. Even if they know you're right, they need to give you other options. You can take it away, look at it, still stick to your guns if you believe that's the right thing, but it's important that you get a different point of view, isn't it?
I think Jay now has seen the benefit of obviously, initially, there's a lot of times I'm sort of poo-pooing him, if you like, but now obviously we're sort of almost like two of the same monster that have got different approaches. Like Jay's sort of a little bit more laid back than me. He's a little bit more diplomatic with me. I'm very sort of, high energy and I'm very intense. And then there's times actually where that's turning over. So Jay will be, getting onto the officials and stuff or the opposite technical area. And I'll just be like, let's concentrate on us. So I think we're a good we're a good foil for each other.
I feel you find that throughout all successful management teams. It's a bit of a yin and a yang, isn't it? That you've got one who's maybe bad cop, one who's good cop, one who's usually the manager who has a little bit more, bit of a line which you don't cross to go to the personable side. I think it has changed with some modern managers, but more in my career, managers in general probably weren't someone you'd have conversations about family life.
It's a distance,
where you've been on holiday. It's a football relationship, whereas the assistant manager is more personable. Wants to know more about you, try to get to what makes you tick, that sort of thing.
That has definitely changed, I feel like nowadays a manager takes on board a little bit more of that assistant role, and it sometimes comes the other way as well, where an assistant will be that sort of, you know, he'll have to implement like stuff on the training ground or anything like that, and he can be that one. So like you say, yin and yang, isn't it?
Just taking you back to some things like Drew Broughton was saying about being brave and challenging someone. You need a strong leader, don't you, to have a strong coach. You know, and that coach or assistant manager has to be, in good terms, a critical friend, isn't it? But you've got to be strong to take that. Someone to go, actually, Gav, you got that wrong there. Like, that was a bad substitution. I feel that was a bad substitution you made there. It actually cost us a goal. You've got to have a strong character, not to have yes men around you. That's the same in any line of work, I suppose. Your business.
And no, it's not personal.
My work. Yes, it's for the greater good.
It's all performance.
And I think as well, like we've definitely got that. We've definitely got that ability to be able to challenge each other and disagree as well. And almost like it's almost like one of that. It's like you just want real men around, don't you? You know, men who just can have an argument and then go out and come back in and go, "What did you want? 1 sugar or 2 in your tea?" You know, it's almost like it's done again. Not precious. Like, and Jamie's learnt with me just not to be precious, because we are very much like. We're very intense. We want to get the work done. We want to leave no stone unturned. We want to basically do the best job that we possibly can. And it's filtered into the players, like our players now as well. You know, I suppose I've got like Gaz Dean, who's like my club captain, been at the club 8 years. You know, obviously I've played with him, very close with him. But, you know, the type of person I am, I see him as a real, like, asset. Like,
would he tell you if he didn't agree? Would he tell you?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think, but again, because of the respect, the right time, the right place, you know. But again, you still got to be the manager. You still, you know, I'm happy to have that conversation. I've got like almost like a little senior leadership team of players that I speak to, and I want them to have a voice. I say to the players, like, you know, be vocal. Like, I want you to have a voice. It's got to be done in the right way. You know, you got to. There's obviously got to be a line of respect, and because there's a hierarchy of respect. But people like Gaz, like.
You just have to know the manager's not going to hold any grudges against it. When you question a manager on something, you know it's not going to affect your place in the team, isn't it?
Kind of a strong manager, isn't it? Like I say to my staff at work all the time, if we're having an argument about the best way for an education for these kids, it's what a great argument. You know, it's a powerful argument. If we're disagreeing, but it's for the greater good, that's fine. If you and Jamie, you're arguing about the best formation or the best, it's a good argument. Isn't it? It's just to get it right, and we allow your own opinions.
It's not personal at all.
It's very much dependent on that strong leader who's able to do
absolutely
that. And in touch with the coach, they have to have a good relationship. Is that the most important relationship then, the football club? The manager and the coach?
I think the players have to play a part in the most important relationship. But like saying again there, like Gaz was asked he was like the player caretaker manager at the end of last season. I think other managers coming in might have been a little bit like, oh, you know, it might jeopardise my position. I see him as an absolute asset. I was like, no. He will be a massive benefit for us. His knowledge, his experience, the culture of the football club. You know, like you say, you've got to be big and strong and brave, and as well not be precious of people around you. Like if the goal is to elevate everybody to get to the outcome of reach
their potential.
Yeah, reach their potential. Then
it can be, if you say it's the most important relationship, if it's not a good relationship, it can be destructive though, couldn't it? If you've got an assistant manager and a manager almost having different opinions on things. They might have the arguments, the disagreements, that's all in the office, isn't it? Once you're out on the pitch, you have to be giving the same message out. You can't have an assistant manager during shape going around to individuals saying, don't do that, you want to kind of try and do this.
We've all seen that.
You get
and
that.
it happens. I was going to say, that's not a...
you get that. I think that's that lack of their self-respect. But I would lose respect for them, because I'd think, if you're slagging someone off to me, there's a good chance when you go and speak to someone else, you're slagging me off to them. So I wouldn't expect. I'd have more just to allow to speak to the gaffer about that. Then he goes and him and the gaffer have an argument, and they come out and they go, "We've decided that we're doing that."
There has to be a lot of loyalty, doesn't there? That like across from whether it's a manager to his assistant manager to the first team coach, and then even the players. You know, I think there has to be a lot of loyalty there. But this is the grey areas, because when it's going well, all of that's really easy. Yeah. You know, get a few results don't go well, all of a sudden there's a few fingers being pointed.
I remember Rio Ferdinand talking about Man United, and he was like, "Oh, it was great team spirit when we at Man U, when we win everything." You're like, of course it was when you win. There's always a great team spirit when you win. But guess what? Our team spirit's not as good now. Yeah, because you've got 4 on the bounce. And everybody starts like we all do.
Question each other.
Accountability. Yeah. No one takes responsibility. I'm getting in the car. I'm in Gavin. I'm going, that last podcast, what was Dave like today? He was rubbish them comments there.
Drunk again, wasn't it? Steam. Drunk again. Turned up late. Everything all right with him?
Do you know what it made me think about? Remember when Drew Broughton spoke, and he spoke about Kevin De Bruyne and having to go at Pep Guardiola?
Yeah. And
he's like, because Pep Guardiola can handle that. Because he's not going, oh, Kevin's made me look silly in front of everybody by having to go at me. He's like, if I want Kevin De Bruyne in my team, he's going to kick back at me because he's such a big character and he knows his own mind. But Pep manages that, puts his ego aside and goes, yeah, De Bruyne's had a go at me in front of thousands of people, in front of the footballing world. And Pep just takes it because he knows what he brings.
See, I love, I think I've had to grow to be like that, but I love that. I love, everybody being inclusive. As long as it's all about intention for me. Like you've just said there, if your intention is for growth, is for a common goal, moving forward, reaching your potential, I love all that. I love challenging each other.
Yeah, you're not doing it for sure. Like, oh, look at that. Who then, Dave? Who have you had? Who's been the top coach? Tell me
so
why.
From.
I don't mean like coaching sessions. I mean who's been like the top link between players and someone who you respect, who you thought was a good person who challenged the manager but looked after the lads.
I think relationship wise that I've had with coaches, who I feel they've had that link really nice, because we've had strong managers who don't want those personal conversations on them, and you almost, the only time you ever approach them is to do with football. So and if you want to get a message back to the manager as well, if you're not playing or whatever, you speak to the assistant first. I think the 2 key ones were both at Wolves, Terry Connor, who was mixed number 2, followed him around everywhere. He was brilliant. So from a coaching point of view, I was young when I first joined Wolves, 22, 23, and TC put so much work into me, into sort of making me better. Sessions on my own. I used to go out in probably once a week. It was always me and Matt Jarvis, and we'd go out at sort of 9:30, 10:15. But the lads will come out at past, take us out. We'll do a session before training, and then get into the training session, just working on stuff. And he was a great. T was such a nice guy that he would be really considered with the way he spoke to you, and he would also tell you why, if you weren't playing, what the manager was saying. Do you know what I mean? It's hard for me to go to Mick McCarthy and say, why am I not playing today? Yeah. Whereas I could say to T, what's the reason behind it? He says, he thinks that so-and-so can do more in this game because of that. He thinks that you were shit the last game, and he'll tell you honest. So he was really good. Joe Gallen, very similar under Kenny Jackett. Kenny was another guy who you couldn't have a conversation with him about anything else apart from football. He just had his guard up, and that's the only way you would speak to him. Whereas Joe, again, a bit more personable. Coaching point of view, he gave me one of the best tips. I said it on the podcast before. He gave me a tip when I was out trying to improve my game. I remember I had a bounce board out at the training ground at Compton, left foot passing, trying to get my left foot better. And he came out to me and was like, "What are you doing, Dave?" I said, "You're not in the team because you're left foot." He says, "Every day after training, you need to be practicing scoring goals. That's all you need to do." Super strength. Yeah, super strength. And that made a massive difference in my career. But Joe was really good at, when the lads needed something or wanted something, he would say, "Let me speak to Kenny, and then I'll come back." And then he'll come back and say, "No chance." Don't ask, or he's not in the right. Wait till Monday, see how the game goes.
Love that.
We're talking about, we need to book a Christmas do. Do you think he'll let us have it off after the Brighton game? He said, I'll go find out. And then he'll come back the next day with the advice, how you need to approach him, all those sorts of things. So Joe was really good. I think those two, probably because I had a long time under both of those as well. So I got to know them a lot more. Both very good coaches. Both a good laugh as well. I think you find that with assistant managers, don't you? Do you know what I mean? They'll sort of get involved in all the banter and messing around.
I think an assistant can afford to, though, can't they? They can afford to let their guard down a little bit and have a bit of banter, because it's not their head on the block, is it? And when you lose a game, they don't have to be of course they're disappointed, everybody's disappointed, but a manager's in turmoil, an assistant can be a little bit well, it's not my head on the block, is it? And he can go and just be you're right, to some of the players. They do come across as a little bit more personable and a little bit more connected.
Away from that, so those two are sort of more relationship and help me. Yeah. But the biggest effect I've seen from an assistant manager was at Wales with Chris Coleman in charge. I don't know if he classed himself as a first-team coach or an assistant manager, but Ossian Roberts, who did a lot of work with the FAW coaching courses beforehand, he was just an unbelievable coach, tactician, putting game plans together, like knowledge
that would in respect
through the roof. Yeah, he's not someone who's going to come around. He's a nice guy. You have good conversations with him and things like that, but not on the level which club assistant managers have. But you knew when you turn up with Wales on a Monday or a Tuesday, you're working towards that game on the Saturday, whoever it's against, whether it's against Belgium, whether it's against San Marino, whatever. He knows exactly how you're going to beat them, and he implements the sessions tactically. Unbelievable. Then, which has become more important the later I played, is video meetings. So that wasn't there at the start, but assistant managers taking those video meetings and explaining things and being precise, being engaging to make the lads take it all in. He was honestly a master. And since then, he should have got the Wales job after Chris Coleman, I think, and he probably should still get the Wales job at some point because he's good enough. But he was Vieira's number 2 at Palace recently.
Oh, right, yeah.
He's gone out managing now. He's in Italy. He's gone out somewhere to take over to the end of the season. But yeah, he's had the biggest impact I've ever seen from a coach. Wow. You know what I mean?
You think the role of assistant managers changed then? Because you're saying about the manager being a bit distant, but they're not so much now. You see Klopp and Guardiola, they're all cuddling the players now, aren't they? And they're all trying to emotionally connect with the players, aren't they? Because they understand the importance of that. Whereas you said, I think 20 years ago, the manager would be a little bit aloof from everybody, and the coach would have that. But now the managers, I think, wouldn't have, don't they? It seems. Yeah. Like you see them all.
Oh, this is decent. I'll leave it playing.
Look at them.
Look at you there, Dave.
That's the best.
Wow. How long ago was this?
Look at the Three Musketeers.
You've aged on this podcast, Dave. Look how brilliant you were back then.
Summer, mate, isn't it?
So handsome.
Summer. It's been a long winter.
Fresh off a little perm there, mate.
Naughty that. Yeah, no, I agree. I think like not it's the same as obviously the Klopps, but like in my situation, I'm quite close with my players.
Yeah.
So
I think that's you have to, like everybody has to be now a little bit more. Do you think?
Yeah, I like to. I have an interest in them. Like I was like it as a player. You know, like if you sat next to someone in the changing room, I wanted to know what they were about. I wanted to know, like, you know, what their missus' name was and their kids' names. I wanted to know like what they were doing at the weekend, and like I was just big on relationships in a foot. Like it's your centre half partner. You got to know your centre half partner. So you sign for, you know, when we were at Gainsborough, for example, we couldn't. It's part time, barely knowing the lads. When you're full time, I want to know my teammates. I want to know what they're up to. I want to socialise with them, because when you're on the pitch, then you know you're getting results. Like I was big on that, and I'm the same with my players now. You know, I sit down with them, have conversations with them.
Football's really evolved, though, hasn't it, from a mentality point of view, in terms of you need to know what makes players tick. So you have to go into mental strength, mental health, all those sorts of things. Whereas
human behaviour
20 years ago, that wasn't a thing, was it? No. I'm going to get the best out of you by shouting at you. And it's
and the coach, I'll shout.
And if you're not mentally strong enough, you'll go under, and I'll
tell you. And the coach might come and give you a little cuddle, but the manager would hammer you, and that would be the tactic.
Yeah. The coaches that I used to love them coaches who come and give you a little cuddle when it's not gone right, and you think, oh, fair play to him. And then those coaches that come and give you a little cuddle, but then stab you in the back.
Yeah.
There's loads of coaches who
happens all the time.
I'm
going to name some.
It's so many weak assistant managers and coaches who I thought.
Go on.
Like hundreds, I would say loads all the way through. Who I look at them, I think
looking after themselves.
Yeah, just didn't have any. Yeah, and I understand why, but like have a bit of respect for yourself. You know, like if you can't do so, just say no. Like, you know, I'm not doing that. Like this, I don't know. Sometimes I say to my staff at work, if you can't do it, just say I won't be doing that by Sam. I'll get that done as quick as I can, but it won't be done by tomorrow, just because I can't want more. Like I didn't meet many coaches who were their own person. I thought who was a real big character. Funny enough, I was thinking about like Cookie. You know, obviously in terms of a coach, like tactics, clueless. But in terms of being his own person, Dave Cook, sorry, he wasn't dictated to by Jimmy Quinn. He wasn't. Like, he didn't need that. He wasn't like, you know, kissing Jimmy Quinn and like this is. He would be his own man, and I respect that.
There's not many of them.
It's very hard. I think I don't know if there's more now, but just to be their own person and have be their own person in their own right, and like not like say about Jason Tyndall, like, you know, saying he stood next to everybody. Obviously, be your own person in your own right. Yeah. I think there's very few coaches I had, assistant managers, who were like that. I always just thought
most of mine were proper with the gaffer. They would masquerade as your friend. They would go back to the gaffer. They would be.
And we used to make a joke of it, like various coaches going, "Oh, here he is. Watch what you're saying, lads. Watch what you're saying. He's in. He's coming in. Keep it stum. This will be straight back to the gaffer. It's a hard job because you've got loyalty to both. But if you try to be sincere and honest, I suppose that's the best way you can do it.
Well, it's about intention, though, isn't it? Like if someone comes to you and they're masquerading as an ally, and then they're not really. That's for me. That's low, and I don't know core values, isn't it? Like for me, I couldn't be like that. Like if it meant not being a manager or assistant manager, then I
feel like the assistant managers who have longevity in the game and go to different clubs as well. So it's not just with one manager. I think that shows a lot of authenticity about how good they are at it. One who sticks out for me, you'd know him, John Carver from Newcastle, Bobby Robson's number 2. Yeah. Have you ever worked with him? Yeah. You're looking at me like your situation was going to be. I had him at Luton, and he was like another one who was fantastic, but he had like authority on the training pitch. Do you know what I mean? Strong.
Like John Carver, right? Yeah, John Carver. Like obviously, I knew him. He went to my school. He's a bit older than me. Obviously, I knew him when I was a young lad in Newcastle, and I always remember he would like when we would go in their school, both we'd be like 15, and he would like hammer us in front of the apprentices. Then the apprentices, a pro would come in, then he started hammering the apprentices in front of the pro, like first year pro. And he was probably then, though, he would have only been like probably early 30s, but not younger than that, like probably late 20s. So I get that. He hadn't developed as a person by then. I remember thinking,
I call it on the fence behaviour.
But obviously that was early days. So I'm sure, John, if you listen, you're welcome on the podcast.
Yeah, Dave thinks you're great. I call it on the fence behaviour. You know, people who are like you said, they haven't got their own identity. They go into one room and they go, it's a Man United room, and everybody's talking how brilliant Man United are, and then you go into the other room and it's like Liverpool, and Liverpool, like, you know,
chameleon.
They're chameleon, yeah, chameleon. I like this, and I find there's a lot of people like that, you know.
And it's a survival thing. And I get, like, you know, their job relies on it, and especially back then, the coach wouldn't have been on a great deal of money, so they've got mortgage and bills to pay and stuff like that. I get that, but I think you've got to try and be true to yourself, haven't you? And you get respect like that. It's like as soon as I tell the assistant manager something, and the gaffer pulls me about it or has a go at me about that, I've just like, our relationship's dead.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I've actually invested in you a little bit there, put trust in you.
And that's happened to me a few times, where assistants done that, and I just thought, and they come talk to me, and I, as you know, there's no filter. Yeah. So they come morning, and I just go, fuck, like, not a chance. Like, there's no way me and you having any form of contact or relationship. Just funny enough, one person who comes to mind who I thought was brilliant, but it was when it was good for me, really. I'd retired. I'd sort of been the player coach at Solihull. We got promoted. And then I'd ended up as Telford as like the first team coach. So it was Rob Edwards. And then Sean Parrish was the assistant. And Rob had a really unique way. It's the first time I've ever encountered it, where I could go in sometimes, and I was the first team coach. Pash was the assistant, and Rob was obviously the manager. And there'd be sometimes I felt like I was just dropping cones and I was just a coach. And then I'd come away other sessions and felt like I was the manager. And he had a really unique way of doing that, like of sort of elevating you.
Empowering you.
Yeah. But Pash was brilliant as well. Like Sean Parrish was excellent because for me, like Pash, obviously very experienced coach, been at Wolves at this time, been at Wolves for years. It was still there, was an assistant. Rob's his cousin. So obviously like they're working together. And then you got this jumped up little idiot me coming out the back of retirement and obviously thinking I know absolutely everything. But Pash was really, really good because Rob would come to me for certain things because obviously I knew the level a little bit more. And I've just thought Pash was really, really good. And he was excellent with the lads because he's a great banter, like really good fun.
Got spirits up today.
Yeah, but he was also really, really good at like allowing Rob to sort of educate me around the coaching and understanding around management and stuff. I thought he was really good. He's a person that is really good at survival because obviously to have longevity at Wolves for so long and still be in the game, but he's quite authentic. So he's like, yeah, listen, you know, obviously I know who my employees are, but equally, you know, I can stay loyal and I can be trustworthy to the players and the people around me and the staff. And I thought he did that really well, actually. He was really good at that.
Yeah. Do you know what's a good thing to have, though, in your head? Like, if you're a coach or you're worrying about trying to fit in, it's like, it's my work today, and the CEO's asked me for this thing that obviously I hadn't done it. And I thought to myself, what would my daughter want me to do if I was here? I can try and blag it and make an excuse and stumble, or to say, I haven't done it yet. So I just went, I haven't done it yet. That was it.
Yeah. Sacked.
Yeah, so that's why hopefully I've been sacked and come away from crossbar.
Yeah, no problem, yeah.
No,
it's being accountable.
It's being accountable. I thought, like, you know, if I'm in a meeting, I was thinking, imagine if Madeline and my daughter was sat behind me, like, I want to show how to conduct yourself
Yeah.
and have a bit of integrity. So if you lose, like, but you do it with integrity.
Absolutely.
I think that'll always be respected. Like, be yourself. If I come and work for you, Gav, I disagreed, I'd go, right, in front of the lad, if I wouldn't say it in front of everybody else, I'd go, I disagree with you there.
You're sacked.
Keep getting sacked from everywhere and go, be sat like a homeless person, sat on there. But say, hey, tell you what, though, full of integrity.
He was so accountable for himself.
You losers who've been like doing the right thing, climbing the ladder. It's just
I think you made a point earlier though about it being an age thing. I think as you get older, you get a little bit more, you get more comfortable in yourself, your surroundings, the ego sorts to dissolve a little bit more, doesn't it? And I think there's that whole saying, isn't there? Accountability brings opportunity. You know, people will always respect you if you just hold your hands up and go, do you know what? I've cocked up there. I've had one. People always go, right, no problem. That's when you normally get a bit of unity because people go, right, well, if you're going to be accountable for it, let's all jump in together and solve that problem.
You say sorry and apologise and say you've got it wrong. It's very, very powerful.
Yeah,
absolutely. Show that bit of vulnerability to people. Just got sorry.
I haven't had to do it for about 7 years, but yeah. No.
But yeah, to be able to say, look, I'm sorry, I got that wrong. Everybody thinks fair play.
No, I agree.
Very hard for someone to still say and be angry with you like that.
And another talking about passion, you were saying about how good he is with the players. That's another big thing for assistant managers is when the team's going for a bad patch or you've lost on a Saturday, is raising that mood on a Monday morning or keeping spirits high when the manager's under pressure. Yeah. You can't all come in doom and gloom, can you? Yeah. The lads are annoyed, injured lads are annoyed, manager's got a face on him. You've got to be the one who lifts the group, haven't you, and bring a bit of energy to it. Like you've just won on Saturday. He has to try and flip it quickly, doesn't he?
We had a bit of a scenario, now you say that, and I think we played Southport away and lost like 3-0. And obviously, like, again, I knew that level a little bit more than Rob and Pash. They'd sort of been working at a much higher level or whatever. And we'd lost 3-0 at Southport. And after the game, I'd never used to say too much. And normally, like, Rob would just normally say his thing and me and Pash would normally just move in and around it afterwards. And I just felt like the players were taking a piss out of Rob. And Rob, like, as you know, he's just like the nicest guy. Like, he's like humility, wants the players to do well. He's on board with everyone. Brilliant. And I just, like, you know, when you're a bit like after the game, I was absolutely fuming because I felt like they were taking a piss. They weren't running for him. They weren't playing for him. And he was doing everything possible for them. And I said something after the game, like, because they're all a little bit, that team at the time were all a bit Instagrammy. So they're all a little bit like, and one of them, we'd lost 4-1 at home to Boston. And one of the players had scored from about 30 yards. So he put on Instagram that Saturday. He's put,
tough result, but
and he's running off with his arms out like Romario, and he's running off like that, going, disappointing result today, but what about my goal? How good was that? So obviously this was on the Saturday, and then on the Tuesday I was absolutely fuming, and I just said to the players after, and I just said, if any of you fucking come in on Thursday and you're all smiling and laughing and joking, I'm telling you now, you're having it. Like, you're flipping. You don't run for him. You don't do this. You don't do that. You're a disgrace. You have everything. And at this time as well, they were taking him to Compton. So they're getting literally Premier League facilities. Yeah. And obviously when you're a bit older, they're going like this, going, get the dinner on. Yeah. And it's like you're thinking, so spoiled. No, and I basically put it on him and said, if any of you come in and think this is a joke anymore, like, I'm coming for you. Like, we're having it. And it was like proper, like, Rob was a bit like, fucking hell. And I was like, I'm telling you now, that's happening. And then it's funny because on the Thursday, obviously time and everything had sort of elapsed a little bit, but Pash came in and he was like battering the lads, going, you're going to get smashed to pieces. Any of you going to laugh? And he played it perfectly. Like, he played it so seamlessly where the lads could sort of almost go, right, well, we can't come in laughing and joking. We've just been spanked twice and we've been poor and they needed to be, you need to be accountable. But he sort of went, look, he was right. And didn't sort of undermine me. He was right, but you know, come on now.
Trying to make it a little bit more light.
He started the cogs started turning towards going, right, now we've got to stop sulking and it's time to start looking at Saturday again. He just used to do that quite well, I thought. And it's good to have someone like him around, isn't it? He's still at Shrewsbury.
Is it Shrewsbury?
Yeah, good.
Yeah. I think basically what we think in the perfect coach is someone who is going to question you, is going to challenge you, but a good coach needs a strong manager who can handle that. Like you just said there, and we're joking, but if I said I've worked for you and I'd say you got that wrong, you got your sack.
Yeah.
Like, that is a joke, but people will do that.
Yeah, she's ridiculous.
They'll just say you're gone because I do not want any challenge.
And it has to be the other way as well. Like, I know, like with me working with Jamie just respects me highly. So he also understands that when my mind's made up, and like we go and it has to be with reason and logic. You can't just go against someone because you're like, no, I've got to be right. It's like, look, this is the reason and logic behind it. We've thrashed it out. This is what we're saying. Like, so he'll respect that as well. So yes, of course he'll challenge, but then you've obviously got some of them assistants that'll challenge for the sake of it. So there's a real balance. It's like real trying to get that fine line of like, right, well, you know, are we doing this for the right intention? But yeah, you're right. You've got to be a brilliant coach. You've got to be accountable for yourself. You've got to be personable. It's not an easy job, is it?
Who's your favourite, Sam? Or any names that would stand out?
I don't know, because I mean, I was thinking it's something that had like Bobby Saxton, like an old boy, old school. Did he? I don't know. How did he get to know? Like, that was a bit different. He did all the tactics. That was the sort of era though, where Peter Reid was the manager, who'd be like, right, get the ball, anyone, as soon as they get it, we smash them in the face, centre forwards, you get a hold of it, centre offs, go through the back of him, and then Bobby Saxton would do the tactics bit. But there was no sort of interaction, lads, like really, I wouldn't say, trying to get the best out of individuals that way. He do tactics on Shrewsbury. I've had Dave Fogg, Kevin Ratcliffe had Dave Fogg, he was like the Scouser, he was a bit nuts. Remember one time he was mental. Like I asked, I think one of the lads hadn't come on a night out. I said one of the lads had gone. Say it was, I don't know who it was, like Mossy or someone. I've gone, send me Mossy's number. Give me Mossy's number. I'm going to ring because he hasn't come out. Obviously standard, like Luke or someone's given me the system manager's number. I'm like, where are you? Where on earth are you? We're like 11 o'clock and being like, and he's gone, who's this? Yeah. Who's this? I'm like, who's this? And I was like. He's like, who's this lad? And I thought, oh no, that's Pluggy. Is that you, Sam? Up with me. But he didn't be able to have a bit of a laugh like that. But I don't know, I wouldn't say I've had many good assistant managers. I think looking back, didn't feel at the time, but looking back, disappointing. Like not authentic, not big characters themselves. One's just sort of following the party line and protecting themselves, making sure they fit in with the job. Then the manager gets sacked, and guess what? Oh, I can't wait to try and get my foot in the door and that.
And I think
I wouldn't think there's not many proper, like what I would see now as men, like as in, this is what I think you should do. You're not in the team because you're not performing, mate. You sit down one-on-one and tell me.
Don't say that to me like look at me in the eye. It's PTSD.
Have you ever had a manager?
PTSD telling me I'm not in the team, and you have to.
Have you ever had an assistant manager who the manager's gone, but the assistant stayed, and then he's tried to fit into another management team?
Yeah.
Like how Wrexham,
I think, and who do we have there?
That's always a difficult one.
I know, it wasn't. What was it?
I don't think that
Brian
works.
Carey at Wrexham. I had Ian Sampson at Northampton. They did it. They all did it. But Martin Foyle. This is right. Martin Foyle. You know, Edmund Martin Foyle from Port Vale. Tag him in this. So I was at Wrexham, and I went out for Sunday night. Ryan Lowe's birthday, and it was on a Sunday night. I didn't drink, so we had a match on the Tuesday. So I've played on the Tuesday. We've lost 3-0. I've played, got dragged off after like 60 minutes. Anyway, so Brian Little's resigned. The new manager, Dean Saunders, has come in. Before Dean Saunders come in, Martin Foyles took charge. Before Dean Saunders come in, Martin Foyles suspended me for being out drinking 48 hours before a game. So they suspended me. And I knew exactly what he's trying to do, isn't he? Yeah. He wants the job. So he's gone, I'm making a stand. So I know Sam Aston was out in Liverpool on Sunday night. Like, bear in mind,
was it a false allegation?
No, I was out. I was out, but I wasn't drinking too much. But, like, I'm a 28-year-old man.
Yeah.
Like, and I didn't play well on the Tuesday, but I'm a 28-year-old man on a Sunday night.
And that's fine. There's the problem.
He's tried to then, and I thought, he then tried to make a stand and show it to the chairman. He went, so Sam's suspended until further notice. And Dean Saunders come in, and Dean Saunders' first speech, when he said something, and he said, Dean Saunders said, and I heard about someone going out like 40 hours before a game, that's not acceptable, no one does that. And I thought, well, so Martin Foyle has not only done that, he stayed with Dean Saunders and then told Dean Saunders that story. And I thought, what is that, Foyley, you nugget?
And unfortunately, looking back, there's not many assistants, is there, that aren't that way. Most of them have been like that over the years. Like,
he's used somebody to try and get a job. Yeah. I'm going to make this stand.
Which is why I think some of the assistants that are good and do have the right intention, they stand out, don't they? They stand out because mostly, I think we're getting to the crux of it here, mostly assistants are arseholes, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because they're out for themselves. Well, they are, aren't they? A lot of them are out for themselves. A lot of them...
everybody's out for themselves, aren't they, in some ways? But I get what you mean. They're protecting themselves and they're losing their integrity, aren't they?
Core values are just out of the window, aren't they?
This happened at Wolves. Talk about TC, who obviously I've got so much respect for. He took over the one season when Mick left, but then they made a change at the end of the season. They brought in Ståle Solbakken and a Norwegian. And they had that much respect for TC, the football club. Is like, we want you to stay. So you stay on as a coach. But he's got 2 Norwegian guys shared an office with. They did not include him in anything. No. Like, they were having meetings without him and stuff like that. He was coming out on the training pitch. He'd do like the warm-up or the circle or something. Then he's just standing there. But he's still carrying himself with dignity.
Yeah.
But then the point where it kind of all went a bit peak tongue was we're doing a little bit of shape, and the gaffer's chucked him a bib and said, "Can you do me a left back?" Mate, he was taking throws for the opposition.
TC, keep the ball.
Mate, he had a face of thunder. But you know what? He had sort of held himself that well. He just got on with it. But
that's also
that's one where the club have done it because they thought it was the right thing. But it's the wrong thing.
But it's also weak from the Norwegian lads, because straight away the first thing I would do then, I would pull him in and go, "Look, you're not my choice. Yeah. I do not want you here, but you're here.
However,
so let's see if we can work together. Yeah. So I won't disrespect you, and I expect you, like, you don't disrespect me. It's your chance to impress.
It's all cloak and dagger, isn't it?
It's all like horrible. Behind someone's back and all that. And you just think,
And I can't.
And it's hard because they're younger, but they're all like, these are all like younger people, aren't they? Younger. Yeah. It's easy for us now at our age to go, I wouldn't do that. If I was 25, I don't know, I might have done.
I'll tell you what, like, this will be a bit controversial, Dave, but like, I got on really well with him, but I know a lot of the lads at Shrewsbury weren't overly keen. But Mick Wadsworth,
he was someone who had respect, though, wasn't he?
He was authentic.
He had strong opinions.
Yes. Like, I got on with him brilliant. He was his own person. He was very unique. He was very, like, he rubbed a few lads up the wrong way because I think they were intimidated by his big character.
And he was telling home truths as well.
And he was telling home truths, and like, Gary Peters didn't intimidate him, didn't overawe him. No. He was unbelievable on the grass. I have a session now that I called a waddy. Yeah. Like, because he's just like, he was brilliant on the grass.
He was very, very good.
I mean, he killed me at Gretna, but he was...
and he hammered me. I remember threatening me in front of all the lads because I'd give the ball when I rolled my eyes or something. But he was brilliant because he respected me. Like, I respected him. What's going on?
Let's say, is the camera, what's it on? Because it stops at 30, doesn't it? I've done that. Oh, you've done that, was it?
But I think people like that, again, he's someone who was real and authentic, and you respect him. Whether or not you agree or disagree with him, he's doing it for the right reasons. Yeah. He's not the sort of person who I think, if he's not saying one thing to you and then saying a different thing to Gary Peters, he's giving the same message. He's like, you were crap on Saturday.
And I'd imagine he would go against Gary Peters as well.
Well, this is the point. He used to fight my corner with Gary Peters all the time. I remember we were going out against Bristol Rovers, and I was like one of the last ones out. I think I told you this before. Gary Peters just put his arm across me. Just to let you know, if you don't play well today, that's you done here.
I mean, that is the worst. Yeah.
And I just looked at him and just went, walked out, and I could just see Mick going, "You can't fucking do that, Gary. You know, you're trying to get the best out. That's embarrassing. You're a disgrace." And he's going, well, like, Gary did that. Yeah. Gary Peters couldn't deal with Mick Wadsworth, but credit to Gary Peters because he brought Mick Wadsworth in knowing that really Mick could have run that team. Yeah. He could have been the manager. And so it's credit to Gary Peters in that way. But I just thought he was brilliant, Mick, and he was always good. And he always have that terrible banter about, I was having a coffee in Harvey Nicks while you lot were flipping in Weatherspoons yesterday.
Chop Alan Shearer's name.
And I loved it. And I thought it was brilliant. But some of the lads would be like, "Oh, Mick's going to come up with his shit banter." And I used to think...
to wear that shirt with W on it, didn't he? His initials on it.
He was brilliant. He's like, "Has anyone else here worked with Michael Owen recently?" No? Okay, lads. Get yourself out then.
He used to intimidate me in shooting sessions, though. Finishing, mate, crossing and finishing. If it wasn't on the money, he would give you the death stare.
He was ruthless, wasn't he?
That's an interesting.
When you have to get your kit dirty,
but that's an interesting.
Get to the byline and fall over, and you'd have to fall over unopposed, and he'd go, "Get your kit dirty," and you'd have to get to the byline and think, "There's no one there. I'm going to cross it really comfortable," but you had to sort of cross it and fall over, and he'd go, "Brilliant."
It's an interesting balance, that, though, isn't it? He said, like, he was driving standards by the high standards. But if he's intimidating you, that is counterproductive, isn't it?
Yeah.
So is that being a good coach?
He would get frustrated because he's worked with Newcastle. Then he come to us on a bobbly Sundawn pitch, mate, and we shanking passes everywhere.
The reason why he's there, though, isn't he? Because he's gone from Newcastle to Shrewsbury. So,
but
like,
say it's intimidating, but no one that drove standards definitely, because you had to be on it.
I think at that time
is
as well.
Is that getting the best out of you, though, being intimidated? Do you think?
I think back then was a little bit different, wasn't it? I think now that would be probably with players nowadays be a bit counterproductive. I think at the time it was almost. You took it as well, so it was put out as almost like intimidating, like standards, rather. But you almost took it and not as an offensive like term. It was almost like like you wouldn't like nowadays. He would be like that, and players would go, "Is he all right? Like, have I done something wrong?" Yeah. Whereas back then you'd go, "Right, he's trying to get the best out of me." Yeah.
But he would reward you as well when you're doing well, or massively. Say good finish or something like that.
He bought that. He bought that. You know, like at Christmas and that, you get like those like. What was it, like perfume packs and like
Links Africa set.
Yeah, stuff like that. He got something like that, like a combination set. Because I always used to laugh about like the like him going to Harvey Nicks and all that. I've been Harvey Nicks this weekend, Mick, and he'd be laughing. And me and him like the mod scene, so we'd be talking about scooters and stuff like that, having a bit of. But then one day I'd played well at the weekend and we won, and he went, I went Harvey Nicks this weekend, Mick. And he went, I was actually, yeah, I got you a little something. And I was like, all right. And then he sort of went, there was like that hatch bit, went over to the kitchen, and he just leant through and he got me like, it was just like a bit of a coffee thing, because we always just talk about how like we were coffee connoisseurs and all of that. And he got me like this coffee set, and he was going, this like little Harvey Nicks thing.
That was an unwanted gift.
He was going, yeah, it was in the sale. Don't worry about that. It was all discounted. It didn't cost me a lot.
That's quite a powerful thing to do, though, isn't it? It's a big act, like, and you can even remember that now.
Yeah.
He's obviously a bit clued up there because he got a bit of a connection. Then he go, actually, he does like me. He actually thought about me, like at the weekend. Or whatever.
But when Dave says he rewards you, it'd be on the training field in front of people.
Yeah,
brilliant from you again.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously I was coming through at Shrewsbury, so you hadn't experienced sort of anything. Sort of top end of football, and then having someone who's coached at the top level, it kind of makes, I think it elevates you as well, doesn't it? If you know, like, he has coached Alan Shearer, Michael Owen, all those people, and he's praising you, that does lift you.
I was in the technical area for Solihull, and as I was stood there, I think we were playing a pre-season friendly. Can't remember who we played. I think it was Sheffield United, and he was stood there, and he went, he's like, "Hey up," like, you know, in that proper Yorkshire, thick Yorkshire accent. And he was, I turned around.
Hey up, Cowan.
Yeah. It's something like that. Hey up, Cowan. And I just turned around like that, and I was like, all right, Mick. And he proper had the full-on Sheffield United tracksuit on. He had like a rucksack with both shoulders. I was like, what are you up to? And he was like, he does all like the player recruitment and all of that. Like, he's doing all of that sort of stuff. But brilliant to see him.
Yeah.
Brilliant, good guy. I liked him. And I used to stand, when we were talking about loyalty, I used to stand up for him with the other players when they'd go, he's a bit of a dick and all that. I used to be, I think he's top man.
Yeah, because he's got you on side.
Yeah, he's authentic with me. He really was.
You talk about coming from lower leagues and then say having someone like Mick. First time I got called up to the Wales squad or made my debut, John Toshak was manager. His two assistants were Dean Saunders and Roy Evans. And all of a sudden you're thinking like, Dino's a legend, Roy Evans, Liverpool manager with Houllier, all those sorts of things. And they were good, like old school. Still never forgive Roy Evans, because I remember after my debut, he just randomly come up to me after the game. I played well on my debut. I put his hand on my knee and was like, well played today. And I was like, buzzing Roy Evans, saying well played. He goes, I'm going to have a word with Liverpool about you. And I was like, is that really? And he's like, yeah, no, honestly, I'm going to have a word with him. What's it, 20 years later, still not heard of him. It's not coming back, mate.
What was he like then, Roy Evans, obviously? You've mentioned a couple of Wolves lads. You haven't mentioned Roy Evans and Dean Saunders, who are massive characters.
Yeah, I've mentioned Dino loads on the podcast.
Yeah,
like, he's an absolute
manager.
Was Roy Evans a big character though? Dave?
I think it suited Dino more being an assistant, because he's full of energy. Full of energy. Do you know what I mean?
I imagine him being better as an assistant.
Yeah, I think it really suited. And I thought he was good at that. Roy, he was just giving like sort of little nuggets of information. I would say he would kind of back up John Toshak with what was going on, but he had, because of his background and where he's come from, he's managed Liverpool.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. He would kind of like just drop in little bits around what John Toshak was very hands-on with everything, like all the shape and stuff like that. He was on the pitch controlling it.
Really?
But then Dino and Roy would go around afterwards trying to drop in different messages.
So two very different characters.
Yeah.
You've got Dean Saunders, who's like lifting the mood because he's constantly like high energy, bouncing, buzzing.
Yeah.
And Roy Evans, I suppose, who's doing that.
Yeah.
He speaks, saying that.
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah.
So powerful when they say, well played today.
Yeah.
Surely we can get Dean Saunders.
He's gone back to that. He's gone, hey, I'll tell you what, I'm good at this mind thing. I've told this little dickhead I've got him that Liverpool are after him, but he's walked out feeling $1 million. Like, obviously not. Like, but yeah. He's like, I love my houses.
Ring my agent. Have you had a call yet?
Hey, mate. He's gone for it. He's gone for it.
Ringing your agent. Leave your phone on me. You're getting a call tonight. So getting a credit card, so shopping on my credit card, isn't it? The money's coming, it's coming.
Surely we get
Kenny Dalglish should be on the phone soon.
Yeah, he'd be good value, Dean Saunders.
His storytelling, ability is second to none, mate.
He's the best narrator of a story ever.
Amazing, mate. Even if it's a shit story.
Yeah, brilliant.
He still has you right at the end, doesn't he?
He would tell stories to us for like 10 minutes and be like, he'd try and tell us nothing actually happened. Like, there's no good.
You'd be pissing yourself
his
your way through it.
Funny the one, and his energy, he was brilliant. Yeah, he's great value. He'd be perfect one on the podcast.
What are we saying about assistants then? Are we saying,
I think we've basically slagged them, haven't we? Most of them useless.
So if you're going to put a job advert in the paper for an assistant manager, what would be key skills then for you?
Love that. On Gav.
Okay, yeah. So I would say needs to be someone who is personable, who is knowledgeable, who is trustworthy for players and for manager, and is able to go between different sections of the hierarchy, i.e. speak to players, speak to manager. I think what we've summed up there, that would be, and I'll be honest, like obviously I'm gonna big him up because I think he's brilliant, but Jamie, I think he plays it brilliant for me. Yeah. He's very respectful of my role. He understands input. I think he respects what I bring to the table, and as well, but I think what he does respect is as well is because I've given him a lot of room to grow. I think I've given him a lot of room to grow and to have an input and to sometimes feel like he's the manager, hopefully.
Yeah.
I'd like to think I've made him feel like
the only thing I'd add on to that is just to say strong opinions.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Be willing to question.
I think someone with like, I don't know, good self-esteem, self-awareness in their own person, who's going to like not take any messing and go, like, if you sit in the office with you and go, nah, I don't think we should do that.
And most assistant managers I've had have not got many of them skills. Yeah. Mick Wadsworth was quality. I used to have a guy, Glenn Pennyfather at Canvey. He was like a bit of a legend at Southend and stuff. He was, I don't want to say that actually, I always get that wrong. He was brilliant. He was like, basically we used to just do circle for the first hour of the session and it was just all like good fun, but he was really, really good and as well, didn't ever compromise the manager, but you never felt like he was throwing you under the bus.
Yeah. I never felt like you were scared of the man. Brian Pop Robson, he was at Sunderland as well, like, you just thought he's his own person, he is. Like speaking to him, like he's his own person. He doesn't need to be, he's not desperate. He's not running Peter Reid a bath, like washing his hair. Like,
so that's going to come with time as well, isn't it?
And probably their own like financial situation and everything as well. Like, if they've got themselves to a position where they don't need to, like they don't need it as much, and actually I'm going to do it. But if there's some things I don't like, it's powerful, that isn't it? You go, I'll walk away from this.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it was a little bit of I don't know whether he meant to, but it felt like he did. Leroy Rossini, when he came in, he was a bit snaky with me. He threw me under the bus with Gary Peters a little bit. He's one of them where he'd sort of come to me for me to confide in him. So I'd had like a bit of a conversation with him. And then Gary Peters was throwing it back in my face on the training field.
That killed it.
Yeah, that was the end of it. Done and dusted.
I thought he was a good coach. He was very different to what we had before, from an attacking point of view. I mean, was you John McMahon as well?
Yeah, John McMahon.
Yeah. He was another one bubbly. He was another one who's bubbly one.
I was with him at Tranmere, but I don't know.
Bit chip on his shoulder, like a little bit like small man syndrome, maybe, but
yeah.
I liked all of them. I was young.
I liked him, but he used to come down, didn't he? And he'd be a bit like mouthing in different ways, and I'd be like, "It's not my fault. You're 5'2" and bowl. Like, it's not. Have a go. Let's get on with it.
Yeah, it did feel a little bit like that as well. Like the lads are whispering under the breath, like, "Yeah, you're not as good as your brother." Stuff like that. I remember once a physio.
I hope he doesn't listen.
Mate, I
hope he does. We'll just get him on the podcast.
We've just got 7 people can't turn down this podcast now.
I had once with John McMahon. We were at the training ground, and he said, "Oh, we're going to run to the gym." But I think Rach was a physio at the time, and I'd had shin splints. So she was like, "I don't want you running to the gym on the concrete because of your shin splints and that." So I was like, "All right, that's fine, no problem." So I said to him, Mako, like, I'm not running there, so I'll probably just get on the treadmill and do something. He was like, "No, you are." I was like, I'm not running to the gym because I've got shin splints. I'm not going to be able to play at the weekend. So he then had a massive huff. And then we got to the gym. We were only supposed to do a bit of conditioning. Yeah. He's gone, right, everyone, he's doing it for my sake. Everyone, we could do half an hour on the treadmill at like level 20.
After running to the gym. So
it was like, right. Yeah. So I was like, John, you don't have to do that. Like, if you want me to run on the treadmill, I'll run on the treadmill, but you don't have to get everybody else just to prove a point. And he starts going, oh, you know everything, do you? I was like, but I know what you're doing. What you're doing is you're trying to prove a point because the physio's overruled you and your little ego has kicked in.
He bruised his ego.
So now you're making a big deal of it. And so in the end, he was like, well, you can't do it anyway, can you? So you'll probably just struggle through it. So obviously, like, I
said you couldn't do either, John, with them little legs.
Yeah. I absolutely smashed it. We did half an hour on level 20 and I was just like Terminator. And I was just like going, do you want me to keep going? Like,
mate, I believe the story.
Until you said Terminator, yeah. And, but I was literally at the end and he was like, right, you can stop now, it's 30 minutes. I was going, do you want me to keep going, John? Do you want me to, I can keep going if you want. If you want me to keep going, just keep smashing these shins into and he's like going, oh yeah, clever, aren't you? Clever. Yeah. I said, well, you're clever, getting everybody doing it, look, like that was pointless, wasn't it? So
you're right to do that. You called out because that's weak.
Well, you say that, but again, it's like some people there would have just sheltered themselves and just like gone a little bit into the shell. Like, I couldn't deal with that sort of behaviour. That's where I used to fall foul of like management and stuff. If I ever fell out because I just couldn't handle that behaviour. I didn't understand why people would just try and be dickheads. Yeah. I have that quite a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, me too, sitting in the middle of you two. Right, that's it then. That's good. That's quite serious.
Well, we speak a lot about managers, don't we? So it was nice to speak a little bit about the staff.
Yeah,
about mentality and things again, isn't it? We're touching on that a lot, aren't we, at the moment? Things like that. It's looking good.
We missed out one of the our most funny ones, but we'll save that for. We spoke about him briefly, Dave Cook. But we'll save that. We'll do a local live show at some point.
We should get Cookie on. Yeah, he'd be good.
He is
golden,
mate. Golden.
Hey, look how good Dave looks there.
He's actually bulked up since then, though, hasn't he?
I know, yeah. Sam's, you're looking at your size 14 feet.
I'm just tired and shattered.
Anyone watching on YouTube, if you haven't seen this, it is very good. Get the balls out with the Shrewsbury Town players. We're going to do a lot more of these. Yeah, we're going to do a lot more of these.
Yeah.
Class. Right, lads.
Right, thank you. Have a great week, everybody.
Woo.
See you next week.